So right now, are you doing any like marketing direct to property owners?
So we don't typically.
Okay.
We have a website, we have the social media, but I do the analysis every year, dollar for dollar, right?
Sure.
What is it going to cost me to really put in the money for social media, pay-per-click, doing all that?
Mailers.
Client acquisition costs.
I've done there were websites where you could pay for leads.
Sure.
And what I found was that the business doesn't stay as long and the quality is not as great. I decided that I would rather pay our agents to bring us the business. And that's a much better use of the dollar spend. And so that's what we really do, is we really internally focus to get the business.
That makes sense. What does that model look like, paying the agents?
So it depends. Typically we pay them by unit, and that will vary based upon commercial, single family,
Sure.
or vacation rental, which is a little bit more lucrative. And so we'll pay them, anywhere from like $250 to $1,000 a unit.
One-time fee.
One-time fee, right?
for referring
But
business,
the difference in our management company is that we allow them to continue doing the leasing so that they can keep the commissions as well.
If they don't want to do the leasing, you also
We can take that
care of
on.
it?
Right.
Got it.
But that was the deal, is that we don't compete with you. We're your placeholder.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that that business stays with you long term. And as Jaron can attest, when agents start getting involved in property management activities, the lawsuits start flying.
Yeah.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
Yes.
That's always my concern, because I do, as you know, I do a fair amount of brokerage business here in Boca, and so we'll sell property, and then it'll be, and I deal with a handful of investors like Jaron, as an example, and they're like, hey, do you do management? I'm like, no, I don't do management. I sell property. Do you do leasing? Yeah, we'll do it, but no, we don't advertise to do leasing, right? We advertise to broker deals, buy and sell. So then they're like, hey, who do you know that has, that can manage it? And it's always this question of, do I want to give it up to someone because they're going to potentially take my business long term? Not the leasing part, but these guys got to continue to transact with me, or I want to continue to build that relationship. Right. And so
you
that's
want to keep them in your orbit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And by giving them out, sometimes that's not ideal, but what you're offering is a little bit better than
Absolutely.
that. Mm-hmm.
And I am maniacal about protecting the relationship. So we do business with Compass, with Remax, with Keller. We have agents. As you know, in this business, agents travel, right, between brokerages.
So they could have started with Kai's, done business
That's
with
right.
you, then they moved
and
to
they
Compass,
know
and they still like you.
They can set their clock that business is coming back to them.
It's great.
Right? And that is something that we offer to other brokerages, is the ability to help them with their management. Because I say the same thing to our Kai's agents, right? When I'm talking to them and I say, if you go and you refer this out to a property management company, the odds are they're a brokerage as well. And you can kiss the customer goodbye.
Exactly. Always.
Right?
Yep.
We're Kai's. We're in front of them all year long. Kai's, we'll get the business back to you. But with other brokerages who I've worked with people for years, we send it out back to them as well.
So do you have an in-house agent that will list for rental, and I'm
Correct.
assuming for sale as well, if need be, or how does that work?
So on the property management side, we do not do sales, period.
Okay, period.
The end. If you're working for me, you're either a leasing agent, okay, or a property manager. And my property managers are not allowed to do brokerage services.
See, that's the move.
It is,
Yep.
because what I find is human nature dictates that people are going to go for the biggest dollar sign. And if you have somebody doing both, something's going to falter. And usually it's the management. My people need to be inspecting properties, handling maintenance, move-in, move-out inspections, collection of rent. It should not be, oh, but I'm selling this $1.2 million house, and that's going to be a big paycheck. So that's most important to me. So that is a very, very big piece that I
Smart.
don't allow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is smart.
So I'm guessing in your system, it's like, this is the agent associated with this deal.
Yes.
When that person maybe that likes the manager because they're dealing with them so often calls, hey, I want to list this property. It's just like, yep, no problem. I'll put you in touch with X
100%.
person that sold you it.
Yep. As a referring agent, you go into our system, and our system actually notifies them 90 days out from the end of the lease that
Oh,
the
that's
lease is
nice.
coming due.
Okay.
So our system is pretty great, and it notifies everybody of everything, and including the owner and the tenant. But the agent is also involved. So you go into our system immediately.
Great.
So what about lease renewals? Do your agents tend to try to charge for that or get involved in a lease renewal, or how does that?
Yeah, lease renewals are interesting because, and I do a lot of training for our agents, not because we do the leases most often, but because they make a lot of mistakes.
Sure.
And what we find is that in the standard documents, a renewal fee equal to the first month is listed. Well, no owner is going to want to pay a full month. You're not photographing, you're not showing, you're just writing a contract. But what I always argue is that you are a licensed professional. You should be getting compensated for drafting a document. What that amount is should be discussed with the owner up front.
What do you find standard? I'm curious because I bump into this from time to time.
So it varies. What I believe and what I find are two different things.
I'd like to hear both.
So what I find is a mess. Okay? And so normally I have to come in and arbitrate a little bit. And so I think it's fair between $250 and $500 as a flat fee to write a renewal.
Okay.
Right?
So that's what I've charged in the past, somewhere in that space.
Right.
Okay.
Now, do I think half a month is a little greedy? I do. Am I to stand in the way of someone making a living? Absolutely not. You know, I always say to the agents, you know, because we have some agents that charge first month's rent for the lease and some that charge 10%. And I say, look, if you can get 20, God bless you, right? You're a hard worker, get what you can. But you have to have those conversations up front with the owner about renewals. Because, and most people don't. They don't think about it. Everyone wants that signature so they can get that listing. They don't think about what happens next.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Sorry, I know I've taken us off topic.
No, I love this. This is the topic.
Okay,
This is fantastic. How do you market to your internal Kai's agents? How does that look?
Yeah, so we have, every time a new listing is taken, they're going to get an automated email from me with a whole host of our service offerings that they can even just forward on to their clients. We do office meetings, we do lunch and learns, we do everything you can think of. Most often, you know, we're not really thought about. You have to stay top of mind. And in real estate, you have people coming at you from every direction, right? You have the mortgage companies, you have the title companies, you have the insurance companies.
Oh yeah, I'm putting so many people to spam every day, right?
It's unbelievable,
you know,
right?
It's just
I
too much.
spend an hour a month going through and unsubscribing from emails.
Yeah.
And so it becomes, there's too much coming at people. And until they need it or until they have a problem, right, it is throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks.
But you want to be in front of them when they need it.
Exactly.
That's correct.
That's the trick.
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
What I do is, I'm a data guy. So we have a very good system internally, and I go through and I look at a target list. So I can see which agents of the 3,500 have done the most leases year to date or this month. And I'll call them up, or my property managers will call them up and take them to lunch. How can we get your business? Can we get one? Right? You may have 5, can we get 1? Can you introduce us? Right? Because one of the big things is I will never go around the agent.
Of course.
They don't like that.
Of course.
Sure.
I tried that once.
You burned the bridge.
I tried sending letters directly to owners, and that did not go very well.
Yeah.
So we really do, I'm more of a rifle approach person than a shotgun approach
Very targeted.
person. Yeah. Because it is not every owner is going to want property management. Not every agent wants to sell your service for you.
And what is the objection in the mind of the agent? I would think this would be amazing. I would want to throw your services out there. If I'm an agent doing
$1,000.
leasing,
Yeah.
They make a little extra money on it. They're assured that the owner at least knows that there's the option of management, and that if you are managing it, it probably means the property's going to be well taken care of. They're not going to get as many calls. What is their objection in their mind?
Normally it's price.
Okay.
Right? Especially now with the margins being where they are, interest rates, HOA assessments coming down, insurance rates going up, the numbers have dwindled in terms of profit, right? But most often it's price. And what they don't understand is that we tend to make them more money. Right. So the educational component is the biggest barrier, and it's hard to get that information through to them. So, for example, the two pieces that I always use when I'm talking to an owner who may be struggling with price, and I think we're very fair on prices, but they say, well, it might be a little too much money. And I say, well, one, where do you live? Well, I live in New York. Okay. So let me ask you a question. When you get a phone call from a tenant and they say the AC doesn't work, what do you do? And they say, well, I call the AC guy, right? I say, okay, perfect, right? It's an easy phone call. And I say, what's typically the problem, right? Well, the drain line either backs up or the coils are dirty. Right?
Where the batteries need to be replaced in a thermostat.
Well, we beyond that, right?
Right.
So we're going to use this example.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, so he goes over and he clears the drain line and he cleans the coils. And how much was that? He said, well, $375, $400. Okay. Who changed the filter? I don't know. Did you check that? Well, I don't know. Did the AC guy check that? I don't know. Right? I said, well, so you understand in our leases, it's the tenant's responsibility to change the air filter every month. And that's the first thing we check, because if the air filter's not changed, that's what leads to dirty coils and backed up drain lines. Thereby, we charge it back to the tenant because it was their fault. That's $400 that you just spent that you didn't need to spend. That's 2 months management fee.
Yeah.
Right? Let's keep going. Right? And I also say, how much do you value your time at? Now, I've never had an investor say less than $100 an hour, right? Whether they make that or not. And so I say, okay, well, how many hours a month are you spending on your property to do maintenance, financials, depositing checks, whatever the case may be? Well, 3 to 4 hours a month, okay? So $300 or $400. What's my charge? Is it less than that, right? So I'm saving you money again, right? People don't naturally think that way. And so it does become a little more difficult to explain where the benefits are.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Beyond keeping the property looking nicer, having eyeballs on it, making sure the tenants don't have unreported guests, pets, unreported maintenance, things of that nature.
Got it. And what are the objections of the agents when they're blocking you from the introduction to the client? What could those be?
So there's a couple things. One is they just don't want to get involved.
Okay.
But I think the bigger issue...
Not my problem.
Right. That's the owner's decision.
That's their decision. I don't want to force anything down their throat.
Yeah, I think another one is it's their reputation on the line.
Exactly.
Okay? And they're worried that anything that happens will come back and look poor to them and make them look bad. So it's an ego thing.
Got it.
Right? And it's understandable.
Yeah, it's a real concern.
It is a real concern.
It's a real concern.
I totally understand that. And that's a cross we bear as a company that has Kai's in its name. If I were Florida Property Management, they would probably think nothing of it. Right? But we're an in-house company, which means that we're held to a higher standard.
Sure.
And I'm actually okay with that.
I would challenge that objection with just, and coming from a real estate broker who has to refer out stuff all the time. If you don't have the referrals, you're not providing maybe all the service you can provide, because that's part of our job, to kind of know people that you can help them with, whether it's AC guy, inspector, appraiser, whatever, property manager. And so if you don't test and find the guy that you actually like, so you got to give you a shot in order to know if that's going to work or not. And if it doesn't work, yeah, that sucks. You kind of blew up a relationship to a degree, or hopefully you can salvage it. And then you got to move on to the next property management company to see if they work on the next opportunity.
You know what I say, and it doesn't directly relate, but what I say to our agents, because a lot of them get in trouble when they get involved in maintenance, right? And I say, here's what you say. Here's the name of 3 companies. I urge you to check their references.
Exactly.
Right? You're the source of the source. You're not the source. And so be mindful, but you do have to be the expert. You have to have these tools in your tool belt to be able to be great at customer service too.
I've denied or declined to give references on certain occasions for certain things for certain clients because of different reasons.
Of course, you don't have to say
that's
anymore.
Maybe vague. And whenever I do that, I tend to find that they're more upset about that sometimes up front.
Sure.
You know, it's like, oh, he's not
being helpful.
He's not being helpful.
He's not being a resource.
Yeah,
for
he's
me,
not the guy.
Right.
He's not the guy. You know.
And even yesterday, right? So again, I'm very big on communication, okay, across the board. And so there are always going to be issues that arise. Yesterday I had to fire a customer. They just weren't following the protocols. They were getting in their own way. And the difference was I called the agent first, and I said, I just want to give you a heads up. I know it's your customer. This is what we did and how we tried for the last 3 months, and it's just not working. And that agent was super grateful, right? They understood. But if I hadn't made that phone call and he just got an angry phone call from that owner, we'd be dealing with a different story. So communication can really prevent a whole host of issues that arise.
Agreed. Thank you for watching. If you like the content, please like and subscribe to the channel.